2026. Warm welcome to the Wednesday edition of the Lunch Table, coming to you live on our various platforms: Topstar, GoTV, DSTV, Zuku, and Star Times, among other platforms, but also streaming this live on our social media handle. That's Prime Television Zambia, both Facebook as well as YouTube. You can get there, be a part and parcel of the conversation. Now there's exactly 29 days remaining before we get to the 13th of August, the much anticipated general elections, where you will have an opportunity to choose the next set of leaders from councillor up to the presidential level. Campaigns are in full gear, with various presidential candidates selling their message and selling their agenda. On the Lunch Table, we continue to bring conversations related, of course, to the elections, but also in preparing your minds as well as you decide who to vote for. And of course, today we dive a bit further in understanding what constitutes your vote, what you should consider when voting, the type of mindset you should have when deciding who to vote for. A national conversation that is key, that also requires you to be part and parcel of this discussion. There is a number on your screen later on during the course of the show. We should be able to open the phone lines and allow you to participate. I'm your host. As always, my name is Paul Shingongo. Joining me for this very important conversation, interviewing him for the first time, hoping it's not the last, Keagan Mulundu. He is an author, mindset transformation advocate. He's also CEO of What Deals Limited. We'll be able to speak into a bit of details around that. But Keagan, glad that you honored our invitation to discuss this very important, conversation as we get ready to vote on the 13th of August.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the invitation. I'm really honored.
Awesome. Let's quickly understand, for the sake of the people that have not heard from you, even before we get into the meat of the conversation, that are watching you for the first time. Who's Keagan Mulundu? Let's begin from there.
Okay. So Keagan Mulundu is actually an author. I have written 2 books. That is, the first one is The Lie of Hard Work, and the second one is Cased by Belief, which just talks about the invisible war between thought and destiny. Then not only that, I'm also a public speaker who is so passionate about mindset transformation. I am very much passionate to see that people really transform the way they look at things, the way they think in their minds. Then not only that, I'm also a businessman who was in public employment, but left in public employment for business, where I am the Chief Executive Officer of What Deals Motors and Enterprises Limited. So in a nutshell, I think that's what I can say about Keagan. But also a patriotic citizen of Zambia.
A patriotic citizen that is ready to vote this year?
Very much ready and prepared.
And prepared.
Yes.
Great. The book you've written, one of the books you've written, The Lie of Hard Work, has caught my attention, and I'm sure the attention of a few other viewers right now. Maybe under a few minutes. The lie of hard work. We are told by the Ministry of Education that hard work is the key to success. Keagan is saying it's a lie.
Oh yes, it is. It is a lie.
It's a lie.
For sure. Yeah, I think for some time I have observed the patterns to see the people that are on top, and I wanted also to understand what is it that took them there. There are many theories out there. Some people will tell you education is key to success. Some people will say hard work is the key to success. But then if it only took hard work, you are going to realize that the people, even in companies, big corporations and what, the people who work very hard, mostly maybe are the general workers and what, but are they successful, or have they amounted to anything great? So in this book, really, I just explore the other component, which is the component of networking. How, of course, not just your work, not just your talent, but how knowing people, critical people who are in critical positions can be able to position you for success. I talk about the example of Joseph, who was very much talented. He could interpret dreams. But then, despite that being the case, he was in prison. not until somebody who knew him spoke his name to the king in the palace. That is when his breakthrough came through. So that is the major point that I talk about, to say hard work only is not enough. You need also other things which can include, connections. You need other things also that can include also issues to do with working smart, not just hard.
You need connections.
Of course.
You need connections.
Of course.
That doesn't sound right sometimes, especially when, people are, don't know, the influential people. They'll think, wow, because I don't know people, there's nothing for me.
Well, that's why this book is there. And by the way, this book is not speaking to people who are connected. It's speaking to somebody who is just seated there, thinks things cannot happen because they don't know anyone, they don't know where to begin from. But this book is going to be a guide, because connections, real and genuine connections, are actually made, not inherited.
They're made.
They are made. So this book is able to help you to know how you can begin nurturing relationships that can be of help to you even in the future. Because the other challenge that is there is when it comes to networking is most people like to network only with people who are doing better. And we forget that even people who are not doing fine today, tomorrow they may be doing better. So it's that thing, that's why people find it hard to say, no, you get their number, you call them, they are not responding, and how do I connect with them? So this book is able to help you how to nurture those relationships so that in the end, it is beneficial to you as well as to them.
Interesting. I wish we had enough time to analyze the content in the book, but very interesting title you have. But let's also speak, as we get into the conversation, the importance of having the right mindset. You indicate that you are a mindset transformation advocate. You advocate for a mind shift. Why is this important, especially as we get to the pause? Do we really need to change our mind? Do we need a mind shift even before we get to vote or decide who to vote for this August?
Exactly. We really need to. And why it is important, because here is one thing that I believe in. I will give a story to illustrate my point. Yeah, where a charcoal burner and a carpenter, they were walking. So as they are walking, they found a tree. So when they found that tree, when a charcoal burner looked at that tree, he said, wow, I think I can make 50 bags of charcoal out of that tree. But when the carpenter looked at that tree, says, wow, I think I can make a very nice bed. So both were right, but what determined what they can come up with out of that tree was what was in their mind. So meaning, in whatever things that we do, whatever opportunities that can be presented to us, how we are going to utilize that opportunity is going to be dependent upon the state of our mind. So when we look at the projection at which this country we are moving at, we cannot afford to continue with the same mindset that has brought us this far. I'll give you an example, especially when you talk of economic issues or economic matters. To say, for example, talk of the exchange rate itself. I am a youth, but I'm also a person who getting deep in understanding things and, just digging deep. So while I'm not an economist, of course, I may try to dig and understand, okay, why is this and that? So when I was trying to do a research to find out, to say, okay, how did we get to where the exchange rate is at the moment? How did we get there? I was amazed to find that when Zambia got its independence in 1964, I think then we were using the Zambian pound, which the exchange rate against the dollar, it was actually about 0.7 Zambian pound against $1 US. In 1966, Parliament approved to introduce the Zambian kwacha, and in 1968, it was launched on the market, and still more it maintained. So one Zambian kwacha was equivalent to 140 cents US dollars. But then you look at how did we get where we are? And right now, when we say $1 is equal to 18 kwacha, as it is right now, somehow it appears as if the move is just little. But in 2013, we rebased the currency. So meaning, if we didn't rebase, today we are talking of $1 US costing about 18,000 Zambian kwacha.
Yeah.
So how have we come here? How is it that we are here from where we started from up to here? So meaning something must change. Indeed, we must look at the way we do things and look at a different way of approaching things so that we can produce different results.
Is that you're saying there's something wrong we are doing right now in the way we're managing our economy, our country?
Of course, I wouldn't say that there's, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
But I would say that we have not done the best. Because if we did the best, I think we're going to be somewhere better.
What do you mean when we say we've not done the best? And also, as you answer that, what kind of mindset shift or changes do we need to employ in this regard to make things better?
Okay. So in regard to making things better, I think the mindset that we need, first of all, is that of believing that we own this country. First of all of us as citizens, we must accept the collective responsibility that this is our country. And when we accept that, we also accept the fact that for us to make this country better, each one of us has to play a role. And that law, it may not be the same law. For some, maybe it may end maybe on the ballot box. For some, maybe it may end in managing, once they are entrusted with that responsibility, with managing how they are going to make decisions. And for some, it is maybe the positions that they are in civil service, maybe their service that they are offering to the nation is what is going to make the difference. So when we understand and appreciate the fact that it is upon us as Zambians to make Zambia great, then what is it that we are going to do to contribute to this greatness that we look for in Zambia? Then that is where the change itself starts from.
Let's speak into what the voters right now. The Zambian voters have got 29 days. There are others that are still, yet to fully decide who to vote for. Others have already made up their mind and busy defending their preferred candidate. But we can't assume that everyone has made a decision yet. They're still weighing the options. Those that are weighing the options, those that have even decided, what kind of mindset should they have when deciding who to vote for? What should they be looking for in these candidates?
Okay. That's a very good question. In fact, I'll start by emphasizing the fact that this is one of the most important activity, one of the most democratic undertaking in the country's history. Because, when such a time comes, I think for me, it reminds me of certain things like that are going on, especially in the region. Right now, I think, is it a week or so, we received some of our brothers and sisters who were, removed or
repatriated from South Africa?
Repatriated from South Africa.
Yeah.
And they went there, maybe because the South Africa is better, and they went there, thought maybe they can be able to find, something for themselves. But some of them lost their businesses, lost their income, some of which were even appealing to government to see how they can be able to be assisted to begin their lives. So such moments, usually reminds us to say, what is it that we can do better? So that even as we get there, even as it should not just be about us Zambians going out to seek greener pastures, even as we can have people who are coming to say, Zambia is happening. So one of the important things that, has to be in that story has to do with what we are currently preparing, which are the elections. Because when it comes to elections, sometimes we take them lightly. Because usually there's that excitement, there are campaign songs released, people can dance, and there are rallies where even our leaders get to interact with us, dance a little bit here and there, and it's all funny, and we take it that way. Yeah, as they are giving us maybe some regalia, I think, this is how it's supposed to go. But you must understand to say the decision that we make on the 13th of August, this coming month, will actually affect how Zambia is going to move forward. It is actually going to affect the education, it's actually going to affect the health sector, and all the other sectors of our country, of our economy. So that decision is very much important. It's far-reaching. It's not just about us who are participating. It is also actually even going to affect the next generation. So as we think about the Zambia that we also want to, give to our next generation, we must also be very much sober in the way we approach these elections. So this is why I say, what kind of mindset do voters supposed to have? So the kind of mindset that voters are supposed to have is to have a quiet moment, to have a reflective mindset. First of all, one thing that I also don't like about maybe, let me say, I don't know if I will say democracy or what, is the fact that when people become political affiliated, they tend to become blind to certain things. So if, say for example,
for example,
say for example, if I were to be, let's say PF, if at all any other person who is not PF is going to say something that is sensible, I'll right away discard that. No. Because for me, I believe those are opponents. So as a result, we tend to work not together to develop our nation, but to work like it is a fight. And in most cases also, sometimes we also make shallow decisions, like we look at when they are there, am I going to be closer to the corridors of power? So as a result, we become selfish to say, okay, it doesn't matter whether they have a plan for the nation or not, but as long as they get there, at least even me, I'm going to get close. So I think
that's a wrong mindset to have.
That's a wrong mindset. So I think the right mindset that we need is, first of all, we must come to a point where we realize to say at the end of the day, we are all Zambians. Before party affiliations, before anything else, we are all Zambians. And we only have one Zambia to protect. We only have one Zambia to build. Then when we do that now, let's look at the candidates that are coming to ask for votes from us. Look at them and scrutinize them, starting by their manifesto. Because this manifesto is the social contract that they are going to have with us, the citizens, and them if they are elected. So now it is more like their plan. It is more like their blueprint. So starting with their manifesto, let's try to analyze what is, this person looking at, what is their priority. Because at the end of the day, when you look at even history, you'll find that each successive governments have been able to score in some areas. They have been able to maybe make some mistakes somehow. But of course, you find that what determines that is their priority. So that priority is going to be discovered in the manifesto. And as we look at the manifesto, also let us look at also individual candidates. Do they have leadership qualities? Do they have a vision for this country? It is not possible to lead without a vision.
It's not possible to lead without a vision.
As a matter of fact, the Bible in Proverbs says, where there is no vision, the people perish. That's what it says. And also Jesus in the New Testament, he said, can a blind lead the blind? Or they will both fall into the ditch. So in fact, according to that statement, Jesus is confirming that a situation can happen where the blind can lead the blind. But then the consequences are that they will both fall into the what? Into the ditch. So even as we approach the elections, if at all we are not careful, we can reach a point where we elect leaders who are visionless. They don't have vision. And what becomes of us? What becomes of us is, like Jesus says, we will fall into the ditch and we will have but ourselves to blame.
Someone says that, and I'd like to pick your thought on this, very important, that if the leaders you've put into office are not changing things in the positive for you, if they're not changing things for you, change the leaders. Others have indicated, and there are two schools of thoughts, and as someone that advocates for mind shift, I'd like to hear from you. What is better, especially in the current context, from your view? Do we maintain? Others have said maintaining is stability. Others have said, look, what is currently there is not serving the purpose. Let's change. Stability, maintenance. Changing, you're disrupting. Which one is which in this regard? I'd like to hear your thoughts.
Wow, thank you so much. So to start with, by the way, this conversation is part of my broader initiative, which is a Wise Voter campaign. And in that campaign, I intend to just raise the message to make sure that as we approach the August 13 general elections, we must be able to be wise enough in the way we make the decisions. And this campaign, a disclaimer, this campaign is not meant to endorse a particular candidate. It is not meant to tell the citizens to say vote for this particular candidate, but it is meant to actually help the citizens understand certain things that they may need to look for as they choose the candidate. Maybe certain things, to clarify certain things that may be hard to understand, to say, for example, when we talk of a stable business environment, what does it mean to the citizenry? when we talk of job creation, how can that be done? So how can we be able to say, because in campaign times, usually as politicians are campaigning, they are usually excited. And usually many promises come through. Today we hear of this, tomorrow we hear of that. So now we also must be able to measure to say, how realistic is this? How possible is this? So just to help come in that that is why this campaign is very much, is very much important, but not really to single out to say, let us go this direction.
But we're able to also speak into how some of these policies that have been implemented by the current administration, whether there are policies that needs to be sustained, or policies that maybe some of the policies are not as helpful, to the Zambians or not.
Of course, on that one we can speak.
Yeah.
We can speak on like what it means, like for these policies or that, and that we can talk about.
Let's speak for example the aspect of CDF. Many have argued that, look, this is simply money that has been gotten from the central government and taken to the constituencies and being disguised as empowerment. Meanwhile, it's the same money you just removed from budgeting at national level, and now trickle it down to the constituencies. So there's not much difference.
Okay, so that's a good one. So for me, to start with, as a mindset transformation advocate, I'll look at this same CDF that we are, of course, discussing and politicizing. The question is, are there people who are benefiting in these, let's say, the skills training? Are there people who are benefiting in, business loans? Are there people who are benefiting in these grants? Yes, people are there. So now, this is why I think I also need to make, this point very much clear to say, when such a time comes like this one, we have to apply ourselves to make sure that we do what we feel is right for the nation. So that when this time passes, there is no more politics. Now it's time to work. It's time for us to unite and see how best we can help this country. So when you talk of the same CDF, I think from the time that it was increased from the initial 1.6 to 20, was it 22 or 25, up to now where it is right now. So there has been this mindset where, because there are people who are maybe just thinking, say, no, this thing does not exist. But even when there are people who are benefiting. So for me, the message that I can have for the young ones, or especially for the youths who are watching, is that when policies are introduced like the CDF, it's for me, as long as it is able to help to reach out the less privileged in our societies, help out to help like the youths, the women. I think for me it's a good one, and it's something that we really just have to embrace and see how best you can be able to do what to benefit. When it is time for us to work together as a country, to unite, let us work and get the benefits that we can get from there. So in terms of the CDF, really, whatever the argument that it can be, for me, as long as it is pushing the resources down to the needy, down to the villages that have never seen development for some time, I think for me that is a good one, and it can help us to be able to move forward as a nation.
Awesome. But also we have a lot of people that sometimes brush aside aspects of manifestos. Keagan, others don't appreciate the need for money, especially in this period when every other politician is having rallies trying to, woo the voters. Why are manifestos very important in this regard? Why should the voters out there pay attention to political party manifestos?
Okay, yeah. So thank you so much for that question. Manifestos are very much important, because it's like you are getting employed. You are getting employed, and then you have to sign the contract to show you the terms and conditions. If it's a permanent, it's a contract, you have to sign that contract. But then somebody says, no, don't concentrate much on the paperwork. Just start the work. And sometimes there's also a temptation, because you are desperate for this job, you have struggled to find it. Sometimes you can say, okay, maybe let's just work. But now the thing is, you have not established the terms on which that agreement is going to be. This is why it's very much important to make sure that even as we go into the elections or the campaign period, this is a time when politicians are going to get into a contract with us, the citizens. So in that contract, we must be able to look at it. What are the terms and conditions? What are your priorities? How better are you going to make this country so that when we elect you today, 5 years from now, we'll look back and say we made the right decision. So the manifesto is very, very much important. As a matter of fact, it would be better for me, given an option to choose, say, should we have rallies or should we just send manifestos, messages to the citizens so that they go through them? I think for me, I would say maybe sending messages of manifesto to citizens is far much better than even.
But also you know,
rallies.
Keagan, that it's not possible for every other promise and the plan of a political party to be contained in a manifesto. And also, you know, as an author, that the reading culture in Africa and in Zambia in particular is not so good.
So now, when we understand that, that's where now the political rallies comes in. So when we go to political rallies, let's communicate the message that is in our manifesto. Unlike just exciting the masses. You know, for example, I have written the book, The Lie of Hard Work. I have written this book, it's me who has written it. So when I'm asked, like, for example, when you're asking me, say, what do you mean about the lie of hard work? I didn't have to start looking at things that are elsewhere. I started looking at the things that I wrote in that book to explain what I meant. So even politicians, when they go to address in rallies, yes, the leading culture in Zambia is very much poor, that I agree. We can do better. But of course, it is now supposed to be the responsibility of those politicians to speak things that they have for us in their manifesto, in their plan.
But you see, you're not answering the question. It's not possible for all a few weeks ago, just last week, I was in a meeting with political parties and trying to understand some of the promises they've made around, public debt, sovereign debt. A number of their manifestos don't speak into those matters. And according to them, we can't share how we manage our debt in our manifesto. But when we go in the compounds, communities, we'll be able to explain to them.
Well, that's very much interesting.
Yeah.
It's like you are advertising for the position of the CEO, and then you invite, prospective candidates to submit their application letters, their CVs, their cover letters, and everything. So the reason why you are asking for these documents, you want to see who's fit for that for that job. Then somebody says, no, I think I will not include everything in the CV. I'll go and explain in the interviews. And now you are the one hiring. You are the HR looking at the applications. There are two candidates here. The other one puts in all the information that you are looking for. The other one says, I'll go and explain in the interview. Who are you going to hire? Of course, and I know the viewers have the answer to that. So this is why I'm saying, if at all we are to take these elections very seriously, then it must also start with the way we are actually engaging the voters. One thing that I've realized, which is very much unfortunate about countries like Zambia, is the fact that when it comes to political leadership, we do not see it really as something that maybe born, or you may have that gift or that talent or something that you can develop, but we see it as if it's just like any other business. So any businessman who makes at least some good money, which can be enough to campaign and win an election, they go into politics. And then they use the money they have made in business to sway the decision of the voters, so that when they go in now, the goal is to return the money, because they are business people, after all. So as a result, we have come to a point where even when the decision that we make, we do not make based on merit, but we make based on tuma something. So as a result, you find that people who make it maybe are people who have more money. If today I was going to contest, let's say for presidents, I do not have resources, even just for me to move from one place to the other, I wouldn't. But then no matter how good the plan that I may have, just because of that is going to be a limitation. So as a result, that same mindset of, just wanting to see what is it that I'm going to benefit now is actually doing more harm than it is doing good for us. Because when we make that decision based on the instant gratification, but what are the results that are going to follow in later?
How then can the viewers out there be able to differentiate? I don't know whether it's even easy to differentiate or be able to know, identify politicians who have the best interest, for them, or those that are just going in for their own benefit. Are there ways we can help the viewers out there to identify, politicians who mean well with the right intentions, right motive, from those who are there just for their own good?
Okay, that's also a very good question. Now, I will not answer it directly, but I will answer it in this way. So you see, when we are analyzing, especially the manifestos and the choosing, the first thing that we also need to do is, first of all, if the ruling party is coming to us to ask for votes for another mandate, first of all, we must look at how have they handled us in the previous time that we gave them the mandate. How have they been able to improve our livelihoods as generally? Have they been able to answer most of the questions or most of the challenges that our country is facing right now? And to speak to some of these includes the issues of unemployment, which is very high, especially among the youths. Issues to do with addressing the issues to do with the cost of living, addressing the issues to do with the future self-preparation of the future generation to come. How have they been able to score in those areas? Then, as we also look at the opposition coming to ask us to vote for them, they should also be able to give us a reason. As if possible, they should also be able to tell us where the ruling party has failed and how they are going to do better. Because when you come to me as an opposition leader, you come to me to say, for example, vote for us, we want change. Oh, change. So what are we changing? What are you going to do better? Then you tell me, no, this we shall continue, this we shall continue, this we shall continue. But there is no clear plan to say what we are going to do better is this. Our friends have failed in this area, and this is what. So for me, again, there I tend to have problems. Same applies to the ruling party. If the ruling party comes in without a clear message of showing us where we were up to where we are, and then also a clear plan to say from here where we are supposed to move in this way, then just messages that are not speaking to those realities, some also have a problem with that. So really, issues to do with leadership, first of all, has to have passion. You must be passionate. In addition to the vision that I talked about, then what is your passion? What is your interest? And to speak of it, just, for example, to just say, no, I love youths. No, I love Zambians. It's not enough. There must be a genuine, attachment or some form of, even the way you are bringing out, explain to us word by word. You know what, this here which you are seeing, it shouldn't have been like this. It should have been this and this and this.
Some will think you're saying that out of jealousy. Some will think, the opposition are just looking for votes. How do you curtail that mindset? Because sometimes when the opposition are campaigning and trying to remind the nation on some of the mistakes that the incumbent or the sitting government has made, others rubbish that, say, look, you're just looking for votes. So how can we curtail that type of mindset?
Okay, so it's very much different, like where you are just looking for votes or where you are speaking real issues. And by the way, you must understand to say, when you are speaking, even right now as I'm speaking, I'm not speaking to everyone, because not everyone is going to find sense in what I'm speaking. That's the fact. But of course, somebody who's going to weigh this matter, approach it with what they will say, I think somehow that thing. So even the same way as you speak, whether you are going to speak the right thing or the wrong thing, you still have people who are going, some people are going to not agree with you, there are people that are going to agree with you. But the most important thing is when you are speaking, try to actually reason with the intellect and not the emotions. Because sometimes what the politicians do is they want, maybe that's the reason why we have entertainment during rallies, so that first of all we're excited, the emotions are high and what, so that when they are speaking to us, they are speaking to our emotions and not our intellect. That's where the challenge comes in. But I think for me, let us be able to engage on these matters in a sober manner. And when I say sober manner, for example, it's very much easy for a politician to promise to say, for example, once I'm voted in, or once I continue, I'm going to work on this road. I'm going to increase the salaries. I'm going to employ. But the most important thing is, how are you going to do that? So that brings us to the issue of the economy. So the prospective leader must be able to have at least the basic understanding of the economy. How are you going to do this? Because, for example, if let's say we are saying as a country, we are struggling like issues to do with debt, issues to do with limited resources, but then how are you going to help us? First of all, because before you do anything, before any expense has to be made, whether it's to education, towards education, health or what, there must be where you are spending it or where you are getting it from. So where are you going to get it from? That's where the main issue lies.
I can see Innocent Zulu watching via our Facebook page. I can also see Costa Muhanga watching from Solwezi. It's good to know that Solwezi is also glued to the program this afternoon. My guest is Keagan Mulundu, a mindset transformation advocate, speaking into the type of mindset you should have as you get to vote on the 13th of August. Ishmael Rashid has an interesting comment on our Facebook page. He's following, and he says, we can tell that you're UPND.
Well, that's quite interesting. Of course, I am not partisan. I am actually here to challenge the mindset. And one of the mindset that I want to challenge is that same mindset, where we have this belief to say it's either is red or blue, or is yellow or orange, whatever. So even the way that we are going to look at things is based on that, to say, okay, no, the way this one is speaking is because of this. And I think we must be able to rise above that as Zambians. We have one Zambia to build, just like I've mentioned. And when we approach it that way, then we must be able to be sober, to say whoever is speaking, let's look at the substance of what they are speaking. Are we saying that when we are talking of leaders, we should just choose because no? And for me, that's what I'm saying, to say, let us be able to look at leaders, analyze them one by one. In fact, let me talk about actually all the qualities that I want us to look for in a leader. The first one is, I've talked about a vision. A leader must be a visioned one. A leader must be able to see things before they even become a reality. That's a leader. Second one, they must be competent.
Must be competent also.
They must be competent also, because when you have one incompetent leader, things may not be able to move. I believe in the quote, John C. Maxwell says, everything rises and falls on leadership. So nations will rise or fall depending on the kind of leadership that they have. So leaders must be competent. Then leaders also must have integrity. Integrity is what you do when no one is watching. That's integrity. So we must also be able to look at the integrity of the leader. And that integrity maybe also can be told through maybe their past record, and what we can be able to tell, okay, I think this one is, their integrity is okay or not. Then we must also be able to look at leaders. They must be able to be, to have courage to act. There are times that in leadership you have to make unpopular decisions, but they are necessary. And there are also leaders who are people pleasers. Like, for them, if I make this decision, people will not like me. And you don't want such a leader, because there are certain things that just requires you to be brave and courageous just to act at that time. So that is the thing. Then also, which is the issue that is that I'm also very much passionate about, which is the issue of the economy. They must be able to understand. Because it's like maybe let me simplify it this way. If you are growing up as a young man, you are being kept. You don't know anything. You don't know what's the price of minimum. You don't know what's the price of cooking oil or what, because you are being kept. But now, when you choose to go or to have your own house, this time now changes. You are the head. So as the head, you start, even when you are not an economist, you start to plan, how much do I earn? Okay, I earn 1,000. In that 1,000, how much do I need to do to pay rent? How much do I need to buy food? How much do I need to do this and this? So now you are trying to do that. That is basic economy. You are not an economist, but you are doing that because you have responsibility. So it is with the responsibility of running a nation. You may not be an economist, but have the basic understanding. And there's also supposed to be a difference between maybe having a qualification for something and also maybe understanding and having the applied principles or the applied knowledge of how things really work out. So that in the economy, like I've mentioned, is the center of everything. Because whatever you're going to do, you need to look at what is it that you have, what is your priority, how are you going to prioritize that? That's the thing. Then also the other issue is leaders, they must be able to have that mindset of wanting to strengthen the rule of law, which under the rule of law is the respect for the institutions of governance. And when we speak like that, because that is also what determines also how the economy is going to grow. When a foreign investor is trying to look at a country to invest in, they're also looking at how the rule of law is. If I go in that country, sign a contract with anyone, is that contract enforceable in the courts of law? Or maybe the courts of law are compromised. Then they say, I think I'm better off not going there. So all those are things that should be able to be looked at or in a prospective leader.
We're also live on Joy FM. This conversation is also live on Joy FM. You can be a part and parcel of the conversation apart from Prime TV on Topstar, Go TV, DSTV, Zuku, and Star Times. You can also catch this conversation right now on our Prime TV, on Joy FM, our sister radio station. You can be a part and parcel of the conversation. The number is 0776 409840. Do give us a call in case you'd like to be a part and parcel of the conversation, whether on TV or 92.1 FM on Joy FM. You can give us a call, 0776 409840. That is the number. Remember, when you do call us, you tell us your name, where you're calling us from, and get straight into your contribution or question. My guest, Keagan Mulundu, mindset transformation advocate, speaking into the type of mindset that you ought to have as you head to the polls on the 13th of August. 0776 for the listeners joining us via Joy FM, 0776 409 840. For those on TV, the number is right on your screen. Do give us a call. We'll be glad to hear from you
in
the few minutes that we have. Keagan.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon. Thank you. Please tell us your name and your contribution.
Yes, this is Daphne. Contributing on what my brother is saying there. That issue is speaking sense. More especially in our villages nowadays when they are campaigning. We don't really consider the manifesto or what that person is saying. Actually, there's no even manifesto. Instead, there's only buying them beer, and then they get drunk, they get excited, and that's all. That's enough for them, which is very bad. And we thank God for this free education, because I'm sure, because most of the people are going to be educated, they will be educated. I think things maybe will change in the future as we are going to have most of people getting educated. Otherwise, as it is now, us who live in the villages, things are bad, and we just vote. Just by the 10 quarter that they give you, they just give you a 10 quarter. You are excited, and it's enough for you to vote for them. Not really the vision of that person, what that person has. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The vision that people have. Sorry I didn't get your name earlier, but thank you so much for giving us a call. Vision is the most important thing, Keagan, that people should be paying attention to when deciding who to vote for. 0776 409 840, 0776 409 840. That is the number you're using to be part of the conversation this afternoon. You're through to the lunch table. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Hello.
You're through to the show. Tell us your name and your contribution.
Hello. Yes, this is Akim calling from Kitwe.
Go ahead.
Yes, please. No, I'm watching and listening to this program, and I support what that brother of mine is saying. You know, especially for Walasanga, there are people like whom you hear at Jerabos, whatever. They don't think and see whether this candidate, what is he bringing on the table? The problem with mindset, especially Zambians, ever since we started voting, most of the Zambians, their mindsets are not all that good, so that they can choose, analyze, and analytical choosing of leaders. That's why we cry after. We don't analyze these leaders. Most of the times you find that people vote on bitterness, others vote on frustration, others vote on religion, others vote on excitement. But they don't know that this type of voting will take this country to a better future or a bad one. So me, I can somehow, I think, just after this election, people like that guy, that a person you are interviewing there, please, let's support each other and advocate, try to advocate for electoral literacy in this country. Because most of the people, they don't know what they vote for, and they don't know how to vote. In fact, that's why we try there. Thank you. That's my submission. But before I go, you hear a politician comes on radio or TV, starts telling you that me, this free education, I'll be buying you uniform. Are you telling me buying uniforms for the whole Zambia, for the children? What type of economy do you have in this country? They don't consider all that. But you find people clapping, which is very bad, very, very shameful. Democrats, big democrats like the UK, the Americans, they somehow
As you wrap up.
Look at these people. They are clapping for things which can't even happen. Thank you, my brother. Thank you. Work well.
Thank you so much. Let's get two more calls, one or two calls, before we wrap up the conversation. 0776409840.
Hello?
Yeah, through to the show. Your name and your contribution.
Hello?
Go ahead with your contribution.
Yes, I'm calling from Lusaka. My name is Franklin Shimbei Mugu. Yes. Please let me try to advise. Big man, he's there, that's the man. Big man, let's change the rules of Zambia. MP must be just 15 years. After 15 years, out. All those MPs who stood in MNG government, you need, let them go. We need new blood now. This is the system we need. New blood in Dallas. Everything, these old people want to have it out. Don't want out. People new blood in parliament. That's why we are going behind. Education, free education is good. That is an adjunct. Then we come to Akainde. Akainde means well for Zambians. Now the problem of Zambians, there's some regions, they fall into the via Nyazuru. Yeah, they will crap. They will crap. They will crap, they will go. But somebody like Akainde means well to Zambians. But the problem, Zambian voting party, they remove. They to vote tribalism. Thank you.
In the interest of time, Mr. Frank is our last caller on the lunch table this afternoon. Let me give you opportunity to react. Most of them are just additional comments to what you are saying.
Okay, thank you so much. The first call, I didn't get the name.
Yeah.
I think she emphasized on the issue of vision being very much important than just excitement. I think this is the point that I labored to explain. Then Mr. Akim from Kitwe, he also agreed and said actually this message is very much necessary in our political or in our discussion or conversations because it will really turn the way we look at things. Because sometimes politicians, according to him, that is, give unrealistic promises like buying uniforms. He's even specified. I don't know, I may not have heard of a politician who might have promised that, but I think also this is...
it's not realistic.
It's very much not realistic.
Or buying uniforms for every PP is not realistic from where you stand.
I was trying to quote him, but now, moving forward now on my comment, I wanted to mention to say, this is a very genuine point because we really have to measure the promises based on how real they can be. I think a promise should be backed with a plan on how it is going to be implemented. I think that way we can say that it is going to be real. But now, if at all a promise just comes, I'll buy all school going children uniforms, then you begin to question how real that may be. So that being the case, I think it calls also now for us to be able to let politicians also, as they are speaking to us, know that they are speaking to us as people who can judge and reason and see to say, is
Not
this
children.
real or not?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not children. Thank you so much. Then the other thing that we need also, just to add on the same, is we need to also change the mindset of especially the youths.
Yeah.
Sometimes the youths get to think that maybe there can be a government that can manage with the little resources that we have as a nation to even just maybe putting them on salaries. They are not working, but just giving them salaries. I think that's why we also need to separate the individual responsibility from the collective, from the government responsibility. Sometimes maybe we may be saying it to say this, maybe the government has not done much. Maybe it's because of our expectations, which might be too much. So what is our duty in a democratic dispensation like this one? Our duty is to elect the leaders that represent us. Then what should be their work? Their work is now to make sure that they work on making sure that the environment is very much okay for our survival, for our hustle, and does not necessarily replace our own responsibility to hustle. So meaning we have to work for the money that we need. Then Mr. Frank from Lusaka says there's a need for new blood. Well, I thank you for that comment. We agree with him. However, I'll also be able to be quick to mention that I think this should be a challenge to us as young people. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about a young person, but it's also about what do they have. Do they have what it takes? When I come here to campaign to say, please put me on this position, my message should not be I'm a new blood. My message should be, what is it that I'm going to do? Different that maybe our old folks have done wrong. I think that is what should be. So to start with, we must be able to be prepared and ready for leadership as young people. I think this is what I can comment on.
Yeah, Keagan, there are a lot of things I wanted us to talk about, which we've not touched. Issues of young people in politics is a very key conversation. The majority of the slightly over 8 million registered voters this year are young people. Similar instance like 2021. I know we've not had time to talk about this, but also something very important I also wanted to talk about has to do with issues to do with national unity, tribalism, cohesion, how best the kind type of mindset we should be able to have, despite having different political beliefs. We should be able to still understand that we are one people and pursuing the same goal, but time has not allowed us to talk about this. Also something to do with political violence. We've seen deaths actually recorded in the last 2 months, just heading to the elections. Maybe in our next conversation, these are some of the things we should be able to begin by talking about, because this is very important. I hope that I can be able to have you again next week or the other week, depending on the sheet, that we're able to finish on these very important conversations. But thank you for coming through today.
Thank you so much, and thank you to the viewers who tuned in. Thank you so much.
Awesome. That's why we wrap up today's edition of The Lunch Table. My guest was Keagan Mulundu. He's a mindset transformation advocate. He's also CEO of What Deals Motors Limited. He joined me on The Lunch Table this afternoon as we keep on building up conversations surrounding the elections. Remember, 29 days now remaining before we get to the polls. Conversations building on what type of a leader you should put into office is what we'll be focusing on in the next few weeks. Keagan it is not the first time he's here. It's the first time, but not definitely the last. Right, Keagan?
Sure. Thank you.
You'll be back again. Thank you to everyone that managed to call in. For those that, of course, didn't manage, can still be a part and parcel of the conversation. I'm back again on this edition on Friday, same time, 12 to 13 hours. My name is Paul Shingongo. Good afternoon.